All right, let's talk about Canada now. And the tyranny of the Mark Carney government shows no mercy at all. It appears that the CFIA, which is the terrorist agricultural department in the Mark Carney government, is apparently using giant blenders now to liquefy and kill off these ostriches. And of course, the owners of the Universal Ostrich Farm are not able to get close enough to actually see how many of their ostriches are still alive. Estimates now about half of the population of ostriches are still alive because the government has been culling or killing, murdering these animals, which can live to be well over, I think, like 35 years old or 40 years old. No threat to humans at all. In fact, maybe a savior of humans, learning how to deal with herd immunity. So here are just some examples of what these vacuum trailers and skids, along with these giant blenders to liquefy, yes, large grinders, to put these birds in there so that you can't see it under the darkness of night. Listen to this sound from Katie Pasitny and the Universal Ostrich Farm confronting the police about this. Watch.
We're gaining more and more affidavits from people signing things that they're hearing, and like we say, that it sounds like something's going into a grinder. And yeah, in the middle of the night. And
there's a white box at the back corner.
They've heard they use this many times in disposal sites where for chickens and that, and they have some kind of chemical that they put them in first, and it eats all the feathers, it eats the meat and everything. And then they're left with the bones, and they have to do something with that. So then they go into this grinder, which everybody's saying this is exactly what it sounds like. And then
to 4:30 in the morning.
And then they had someone
early in the morning.
It out.
This is all happening. Let's bring in independent journalist from Ottawa, Canada, David Creighton, who writes at the Post Millennial, also hosts a great show called Creighton's Right. I want to talk about this and Mark Carney's corruption, new details about a nuclear plan and deal, even as the trade agreements with the United States have fallen apart, of course, but he's going to enrich himself once again. David, great to see you. Can you walk us through, I mean, grinders? People in the chat room are like, liquefy? What the hell is happening?
It sounds like science fiction, but tomorrow is Halloween, Clayton, and I really think what's going on at this farm is in sync with Halloween. It's horrifying, it's nefarious, it's sinister, and it's all being done in the clandestine, wee small hours of the morning. Now, what's going on? That one picture you showed there of one of these bird blenders, as they're colloquially known, being hauled into the farm with a truck. That was taken. Yes, that picture there, that was taken at the ostrich farm. So we know this device, which we've identified by correlating it to other devices on the market, was hauled on to the farm. For what purpose? We are demanding, as journalists, and the farm is demanding to know from the CFIA, what is this device doing on this ostrich farm? And what are you going to do with it? What are you doing with it? Why are these septic tanks being removed at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning? Are they producing that much shit, excuse my language, from these CFIA agents? Is it all that, or is there something else going on here? Now, these bird blenders, as they're called, they're involved in a process called water cremation. I've never heard of this before. It's also called alkaline hydrolysis. This is actually has been used by the Department of Agriculture in the United States. It's used at the CFIA plant, or shall we call it the lab in Winnipeg, Manitoba. This is the same lab, by the way, where we had 2 Chinese spies working on the COVID vaccine for quite some time. They were expelled from Canada. Same place, though. But here's what I think might be happening, Clayton. It seems to me that this is an experimental operation to see if these devices can be used to get rid of poultry, ostriches. Potentially, they get as big as a device that can get rid of a bull cow. So this is incredible to think of it. But these devices have been in use since about 2017. And I think the CFIA is considering moving to this as a widespread process. Right now, they are killing poultry and other livestock through carbon monoxide poisoning. This seems to me to be an experimental option for them. Now, can we prove anything here? Absolutely not, because you know why. The CFIA and the RCMP, which are acting in collusion together at this farm, will not allow the owners to even trespass across that fence, to count the birds. Testing has been ruled out a long time ago. They can't count the birds. Now, that scene you're showing right now, this is because of observers on scene who have climbed to the top of a local mountain. They're using a zoom lens and they're capturing the entire area of the farm. And they're saying 330 ostriches is what the CFIA is claiming are still there. Or 300. They can't decide. It's in a range between 300 and 330. How many ostriches do you see here? Well, most people are saying, looks like 200 to me, maybe tops 250. Where the hell are these ostriches disappearing? They're not flying away. This is a flightless bird. They're not getting through the fence. People can't get through the fence. Then they're not getting out of the farm because this is completely barricaded. It has CFI agents and RCMP officers watching this round the clock.
So they can't get any
disappearing to.
What if you could delay your next 2 mortgage payments? That's right. Imagine putting those 2 payments in your pocket and finally getting a little breathing room ahead of the holidays. It's possible when you call American Financing today. If you're feeling stretched by everyday expenses, groceries, gas bills piling up, you're not alone. Most Americans are putting these expenses on credit cards right now. And credit card rates are insane in the 20s or even 30s. You know, when Charlie Kirk was on Tucker's show just a few months ago, he was talking all about the American credit card crisis, especially among young people. American Financing can show you how to use your home's equity to pay off that debt with rates as low as in the 5s. Their salary-based mortgage consultants are helping homeowners just like you restructure their loans, save money every month, all without upfront fees. Their customers are saving an average of $800 a month. That's like a $10,000 raise without having to change jobs. So call them now before it's too late. American Financing, 866-890-9392. Yes, that's 866-890. I'm sorry. I have 2 different phone numbers in here. So in our thing here. Anyway, it's 866-890-8434. Try that number. That's the best number to call. Ignore the one I just told you. 866-890-8434. It's right there on your screen too. AmericanFinancing.net/redacted, or visit the website AmericanFinancing.net/redacted. Their NMLS number is 182334, and their NMLSConsumerAccess.org. APR rates in the 5s start at 6.196% for well-qualified borrowers. So they can't really get any accurate numbers then, David, right? Like Katie and the team at the Universal Ostrich Farm, they can't. It's hard. I mean, you're like looking. Is that one bird? Is that 2? I can't tell. Is that the same one? We just counted it twice. Now we have no idea. So they're not allowed. They're not even allowed to know about their own ostriches at this point. They're being kept back from their own flock or their own herd.
There's a complete intelligence blackout. They can't determine how many ostriches are remaining, except with video like this. And the people sending this out are saying, help us. Count the ostriches that you can find. Go around the scene as very, very, very slowly. Count as many of these black dots as you can find. See if it's anywhere near what the CFI claims. But you saw that scene. That was Karen Esperson, which is Katie's mother. She's talking to this RCMP police liaison officer, and she's saying, we're hearing these weird blender noises at night, these grinding sounds. And this has been confirmed by a lot of other people who are at the farm observing. I have another video with a guy saying, it sounded to me like a steak being put in a blender. And that's how he described it. But here's Katie's mom, Karen, talking to this RCMP about these sounds. He says, I don't know. What does it sound like again? They refuse to release any information. They can't get across the barricade to see what's there. All we can say is put 2 and 2 together. These people have been spotted, verified, videotaped, taking this device onto the farm. It only has one use, as far as I've been able to determine in the research I've done in the last week, and that's to dispose of poultry, birds. This one's a little too small for a cow. They make them big enough for that purpose, but that's what these things are made for. So if the CFIA is not using it for that purpose, what the hell are they up to, if not for that? And the thing is, when the Supreme Court of Canada stayed this cull, as they like to call it, this killing, they charged the CFIA to do only three things: feed the ostriches, give them food, give them water, and make sure they have proper bedding. And if any one of them gets sick, call in a veterinarian. Well, they've been getting sick. We've got one ostrich limping around the field. Again, CFIA has done nothing to call in a veterinarian. The CFIA is not feeding them properly. The CFIA has not been giving them water. They have not got proper bedding. We've got video evidence of that. But what are these agents up to? Clearly not doing what they were told to do, which is to look after and care for these ostriches. They're obviously doing something very, very nefarious, and it's going on under the cover of darkness. What we need is to allow journalists in there with night vision photography, night vision videography, to get proper footage of what's going on here. Because as soon as these septic tanks are rolling out, they can't even determine what's going on. The police literally start shining lights, and that video, you showed part of it. At the latter part of that video, the people who are on site say, there they go again. They're shining the lights in our eyes. They literally turn the headlights of the police cars onto the faces of those people who are watching so they can't see anything. And they take these supposedly the porta potty refuse off the farm. But once again, this is a tall tale. There is something going on here. And I'm just wondering, how are they going to get away with this? Because obviously, I don't think they'd be doing this on their own. They're rogue, but they're not that rogue. They've obviously got some assurance from the Carney government that you're going to get away with this. And the family has already tried multiple times to have animal cruelty charges levied against the CFIA. Do you think the RCMP is going to do that when they're complicit in this operation, when they're clearly covering up, when they're clearly acting with the CFIA in every aspect? So I've told the folks at the farm, don't hold your breath on criminal action. I think what you need is a civil suit to get the CFIA off the ground because they have violated the terms of the agreement. And that would not be hard to prove before a judge who would order that the evidence be produced, and that evidence could be produced. I think before every last ostrich vanishes for some unexplained reason, the farm needs to try another tack. They need to go after the CFIA, not just criminally, but civilly. And I think that's possibly a way that they can save the remaining ostriches. Because if you're stupid enough to believe these ostriches are just vanishing somehow, yeah, they're vanishing, but I don't think they're going out in thin air.
Right. They're not. They're flightless birds, so it's not exactly like they're flying south for the winter right now. David, talking about Carney here, I'll get you out of here on this. Let's talk about some revelations that you reported on about Mark Carney. You know, the trade deal, obviously, with the United States, not in good standing between he and President Trump, but he's still managing to enrich himself. Can you walk us through what you've discovered?
This is incredible, Clayton, because just when you think you've heard the last corruption story about Mark Carney, another one surfaces. So we learned this week that Brookfield Asset Management, for whom Mark Carney, of course, was the chairman, and presumably still has immense stock in that. We don't know where his stock options are because they're all in a blind trust that is controlled by his chief of staff. So very, very convenient for Mark. So we find out this week that Brookfield Asset Management and Cameco have received an $80 billion contract to work with Westinghouse in the United States to produce $80 billion worth of nuclear reactors for the United States government. Westinghouse, as I just discovered today, is owned by Brookfield Asset Management. They bought it a couple of years back. So this is all in the family. So the question I asked the other day, we were talking about the immense corruption in this Carney government. $103 different conflicts of interest. And he refuses, of course, to release all of this information because it's in a blind trust under the guardianship of his chief of staff. So we're asking the question: why did Mark Carney go down to his summits, his meetings with President Donald Trump, and almost get on his knees and break into Mammy? It was incredible how he was so obsequious in his behavior towards Donald Trump. And the first time he went down after he was elected as prime minister, he went down in May and he said Donald Trump is a transformational president, as he just literally almost wept. And he was just so overcome with joy to see Donald Trump. The next time he went down, early this month, he called him a transformative president. Now, is there a difference between the two words? Very, very slight, but I'm guessing it's like Mark Carney was sending the signal to Donald Trump saying, thanks for the contract, Donald. Thank you so much. And, I'll keep coming down here and saying you're transformative or you're transformational or you're the greatest guy and we just love to live next door to you, as long as we keep getting those contracts at Brookfield. And this, right, to me, was another sorry moment in Canadian history.
The Mark Carney government. Everyone in our chat room agrees. What a corrupt leader you have, and that Canada is screwed. Is there any chance? I mean, is there any chance of an investigation? I mean, he's running everything, so probably not, right?
The RCMP, and this is another issue right now, because opposition leader Pierre Poilievre has been demanding that the RCMP reopen the investigation into Justin Trudeau's multiple scandals. They refused to charge Justin Trudeau with anything. And Poilievre has said, why don't you reopen these files? And of course, anybody who knows that the RCMP is now the captive of the Liberal government, of the Carney government, just as it was of the Trudeau government, should not have any illusions that the RCMP is going to start investigating Mark Carney any more than it investigated Justin Trudeau. And Mark Carney loves these photo ops standing in front of the RCMP, saying that they are in solidarity together. A lot of people have said, it looks a little like that German leader from the 1930s standing in front of the SS or in front of the German Wehrmacht, because he loves these photo ops with the police. But I think because he knows the police are there for him. And this is clearly what's going on in this country. It's becoming more and more of a police state. And this is why I keep bringing people back to what's going on in Edgewood, BC at the Universal Ostrich Farms. The RCMP are more interested in terrorizing farmers on 58 acres of land than they are stopping the drug flow out of the Vancouver ports that's going out and coming in from China. They're more interested in doing this to a farm than they are stopping real criminals. It's a hell of a lot easier, Clayton, to stand around and in the Kootenays. It's getting a little cold for them now, so they might want to draw this to a close. Maybe that's why the tempo of the operation seems to be increasing. But it's a lot easier with all of that good overtime, all of that per diem meals, and staying in hotels every day, and spending $100,000 a day of the taxpayer money to keep this ridiculous operation going, one that should never have started. And Carney seems not a bit interested in stopping.
Yeah. Oh, it's much easier. Yeah. Be up by an ostrich farm than actually going after fentanyl coming into your ports in Vancouver and stopping that. David Creighton, great to see you as always. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. And prayers, of course, going out to the family at the Universal Ostrich Farm there as the Carney government continues its terrorizing of them. Thank you as always, David. Great to see you.
Nice to see you too, Clayton. God bless you.
God bless.